Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here at the Spartan Rocketry Club, and it is time to finish the build I've been working on here of the Estes SpaceShipOne. The clear coat's on it, and the decals they seem to be holding pretty well. I don't notice any really obvious parts where they're peeling off. However, I don't know how long that's going to remain the case. I mean, I can see what appears to be some gaps that are starting to like bubble up in some places. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on this. Even if this, like I said in the previous video, even if this were brand new and these were really not 20-year-old stickers, 25-year-old stickers, geez, they do have a penchant for bubbling up, especially on the nose cone here. The problem with the nose cone is that it's curved, and I don't think the decals were really designed to accommodate that. So any spots that I notice that are coming apart, I'm going to end up like tacking them back down with CA glue. So keeping an eye on that. Anyway, last steps then are we need to deal with the recovery system here. So let's get the rocket out of the way. First things first, here's the shock cord. There's a decent amount of spring to it still. That's good. Remember, this is old. That's the only way to put it. I've had some that are about this old that have like no elasticity. It's like pulling an ancient, like this elastic band in a pair of underwear, and it just tears, right? This is pretty good. If it were any crappier, I would replace this immediately, because this does need to survive a fairly intense, it's not all that intense, but fairly strong shock. That's the whole point of it. If you need to end up replacing something like this and the elastic isn't there, I mean, you could obviously buy elastic if you really wanted to. The other option, which I use more often than not, is to switch over to a Kevlar thread, which is fireproof. Well, not exactly fireproof, but it's flame resistant, pretty resistant, so you can have it right up to the back end of the motor mount, so it can take a lot more abuse. It's also stronger than elastic, but it's not stretchy, so that is the downside to it. You could actually make yourself kind of a hybrid. I've done that in a few rockets too. So anyway, I've cut out the mount piece in the instructions, and this is the classic Estes mount, trapezoidal shape. Put some glue in section 2, fold it over, squish it flat, then repeat, some glue in section 3. You don't need all that much. Fold it over again. Do your best to keep the shock cord centered as best you can. Okay, looks pretty good. Checking my hands just quickly, there's a little bit of glue on them. You want to make sure that there's no glue on your hands when you're touching the nice new decals. Alright, so this is ready to go. I'm going to put a little bit more glue. I'm going to put it on the back like this. And then this is going to go inside the tube as far down as I can get it, which is actually pretty far in this. Yeah, I'm going to put it right up to the plastic part and just push it flat. You can see how far in I could reach. This is nice because the tube is so big, I can actually fit my hand in there for once. And you do want this to be as flat, of course, as you can get it, because you don't want anything to get caught on it. So that's great. The other thing, obviously we need to tie this, but we'll put that over here for a moment. I'm going to deal with the parachute next. This also needs to be inspected, because again, it is old. A couple things could make this unusable. One is the parachute itself could have deteriorated, but it feels like it feels pretty fresh, the plastic. It doesn't feel damaged or crinkly or anything, so we'll assume that that's okay. The other thing that could be problematic are these threads. It's again old, could potentially mean brittle. They look alright. My experience though is that I'm probably going to lose one connection point per flight, which is okay. The plastic basically just has page reinforcers on it, and I have some page reinforcers just in case. So if this does tear out, or if it tears out, I'm just going to put another one on it. That's fine. Typically what happens is the cord itself, the string, tears somewhere, and then you just retie it, and that's fine. This is slightly different than the more modern Estes parachutes because these are all tied to adjacent points. So I don't know if that's better or worse, but it does mean that it's going to be slightly crossed over. It's kind of unavoidable when I bundle all this together. I'm going to get one of my barrel swivels here. I'm going to go with the medium-sized one. These small ones, I haven't used one of these in a while. I have them, and I have used them on, say, like 9-inch parachutes, but not with string like this. It has to be the really taut, more like kite string. This stuff is thicker and floppier and really hard to fish through such a small eyelet. So we'll go with the medium-sized one. The medium-sized one's stronger anyway, and this isn't the lightest model ever, so probably for the best. Alright, so I'm going to gather all the strings up. Again, they are going to, you can see there's a cross right there, unavoidable, because these are all adjacent to each other. I'm actually going to try narrow it down a little bit. Alright, so they're all lined up. Push it through the eye. Then separate them. And yeah, you can see that there's a crossover. I don't want the crossover. I don't want it at all, but it is unavoidable, so we'll just try to minimize its impact and then just pull everything tight. There you go. Clasp comes off. I'm actually going to hold off on that for a moment. I'm going to tie the shock cord in first. This is a decent size eyelet here, so I don't need to do anything special here. If it were narrower, you might want to trim this into a triangular point to make it easier to go through. I'm going to put a little more than that, a few knots into this. Let's go with, say, 3. 3 should be hopefully enough. Oops. This is actually a pretty short shock cord, I have to say. But it's also kind of a short rocket, so hopefully that won't make much of a difference. Alright, so there's 3 knots in. I could probably do a 4th. Maybe I will, just because I can. Because I don't fully trust this cord. Right, I'm going to slide it over here just for a moment so I can get the clasp here through easily. There we go. Slide that over, move the elastic band back, and I'm just going to kind of center them. And that should be it. This is ready to go. I'm not going to pack it right away because I want the glue inside there to dry, but this is done. Should be good to go. This one, there's nothing special about the flight characteristics of this, I don't think, but because it is fairly small and not terribly aerodynamic, it takes C6.3s rather than 6.5s, and it doesn't take B6.4s, it takes B6.2s. So yeah, I would actually follow that pretty carefully. If you go with a B6.4, you're probably going to have the chute pop well after apogee and maybe on the ground, so that would be something to avoid. So actually do take that seriously. I suspect I'll only ever really fly this on C6.3s, just because. Anyway, so that's it. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to whatever the next build is. See you then.